I guess you would be Ms. Wilson. We'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Nanci Wilson. I'm a TV journalist here in Austin. I've worked for one station. I'm going to work for another one. So I'm right now in my non-compete. So I'm actually not working for anyone right now. But I do feel that this is an important bill for public information and as far as transparency in what government's doing, to tell you how this would impact every day. You know, is that how they're spending our money? And so I went to the bowling alley every day, and so we were able to reveal that so that people can see where they're out in Lee County, which is 2 counties. So I found out that out of the 47 building inspectors in the city of Austin, 31 of them lived outside the county at a huge cost to taxpayers. We were $8 a month trucks for these employees to drive 2 counties over. Gas was $4, was struggling with the gas prices then, but we as taxpayers were paying for that commute. Well, those are stories that we could have never done if this bill passes, because we would never be able to get the information. One of the most startling things that this revealed as I'm doing these stories is this report, and I want to be able to get this report under this law. And what this is a list of inspections that those inspectors are, and I found these were at schools and inspections in the schools, so I called the school district. Did not happen. So being able to find out that information, which this will be withheld because it shows the start and stop, to find out that, you know, these kids are going to school in buildings that weren't properly inspected. So there's a great public responsibility as far as transparency and what they're doing, that this is an unintended consequence. I can definitely relate to people being nervous. I've had people make many threats, come to the station with guns, shoot, drive-by shooting, break windows out. I understand that threat. So I can understand that, but on the other side, there's a lot of unintended consequences too that I just wanted to mention.
Senator Corona had a question for you.
I think you make very good points, and we always try to public access information, but there are some circumstances that I think require exceptional consideration. Part of not to disagree with your comment, but that's not actually accurate the way the bill works. You could, if in fact we're talking about this kind of information that could conceivably put someone at concerned about their personal safety, you'd continue to have access to that information. So I do agree with you in the safety of people who genuinely would be put at risk information. There is a means under this bill for you to continue to get it.
Well, on the home records, the home addresses on some of these is how we found that they live 2 counties out, and that's automatic exempt on that. So we wouldn't have been able to find out they actually lived in Lee County and had an hour commute each way to work that we're paying for. And they changed the policy.
We'll continue to work with you all if this bill passes committee, and we feel like I think there are some additional subtle revisions we could make that would further want to do that for you.
Well, I'll leave my contact information. Anything we can do to help, we definitely would want to do that.
Thank you.
Senator Corona, is there anything in your bill that would prevent journalists from finding the names of employees with any given governmental?
Just the purpose of this is just into the description of a person's car or the shift that they might work, that sort of thing. And it just so happens that in a field like nursing, when people are working, 24/7, or when the schedules are 24/7, that these things really can become more of a safety risk, particularly for people working night shifts and where outside the confines of the hospital, they're moving toward a parking lot and whatnot, they're put at greater danger. And there are a lot of examples like that I could probably cite.
All right, Ms. Wilson, on the example that you gave about trucks being in another county, so you saw the trucks, and what was to keep you from asking the driver? It seems like for the story that nothing more than that. I don't understand why you need employee, fair enough, but why did you need more than that?
Just to confirm it, to make sure that the information that I had was accurate.
And there's no other way to confirm?
This bill would take care of that because it would be the governmental entities, because they were licensed, and on their licensing stuff it showed their home address. So I could confirm it that way, but this would carry over to that as well.
So that this will make it a little less convenient for you?
Well, not for me, and to have a lot more resources than the public does, because I have services that I pay for that I can get information. But for the public out there, when they want it, because they don't have the resources that I have.
Is it the public?
Where the person that they keep seeing on Highway 290, where they're going, it's like I see them in Bastrop every day. Why is this person, and what they do generally is, instead of going to look at a lot of things, so a lot of times it's like, I don't have time to do that, but here's where you can get that information.
I subject ourselves to more information going out because we're elected officials. I have a staff, and they have families, and in fact, our staff frequently interacts with constituents more than we do, just out of necessity of what we have to do. And I'm not sure they have a right to know where they live or their phone numbers or any personal information, and they need to know what one newspaper published, what all of them make. But I know their personal lives, and what beyond that, they're here when they're off. They're off. Their time is their own. And just and if you have any suspicions about what a staff member's doing, then I think fine, you can ask them. I guess you have a right to follow them if you so desire. I just don't see why you need the personal information. I don't see that in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. I don't see it anywhere in the Constitution of Texas. It seems like what you're wanting is just more detailed information, perhaps to make your job as a journalist or somebody else, not you. And there is a difference between people. I just don't see your position with the public's right to know and what they have a right to know.
Ability and transparency. And a story that I worked on 4 years ago had to do with a state employee that was the medical director of a state agency, and looking at his property, his salary, and through court records, because there were some lawsuits filed and stuff, he was getting payments from the pharmaceutical company. Well, the state don't have $1 million worth of property, and no other source where it looked, wills or that kind of stuff. So it's just another level of transparency that a lot of people may not look, but knowing that's available, that the sunshine is there on about y'all out there than anybody.
And what if the money had come from an inheritance, and then you're exposing private business? I mean, most people that inherited money, or their spouse inherited money, or whatever, that was their business, and then all of a sudden you've exposed kids, and you've subjected their kids to perhaps risk of kidnapping. I mean, you have to understand that you're putting people at risk here. You just heard the testimony. I'm a physician, and nurses and patients do get upset reporting, but I think you also have a responsibility to the public to protect these employees. Most make in the private sector, and I think they're just wanting to do their job, and you're trying to overturn every little rock at the expense of a lot of people that have no issues other than they want to do their jobs.
And I agree with you on many points on that. Just so you know, to make it clear, we did not do the story. We did not do a story on that person's stuff, because exactly what you're talking about. But it did give us information to say to his bosses, how does this happen? You're right. The vast workers and do exactly what they need to do, and I'm the first one to say that. But there are some people that you need to be able, unless it's relevant and confirmed. So please don't think that I think that.
And I would submit you go to the elected officials. I think you go to the mayor or councilman if it's a state, to the elected. I mean, they're the ones that the people have elected to represent them, and we're not perfect, but I think we're the ones responsible to make sure that our employees are doing what they should, those questions. But,
and that's what the city manager is doing that. And I don't advocate a way to confirm it, because the other thing I don't want to do is on supposition go to someone and say, did you know your employee did this? When I could confirm the information a little bit, because probably 80% of the things that I investigate, we never do a story on. Because when viewers call or whatever and they say this stuff and you go, wow, and then you find out it's not true. Precludes that, so we don't even have to do the boss.
Responsibly, there are media people that don't sometimes harassing people unnecessarily. I mean, it's a two-way street. So at the same time, I think we're trying to protect our employees and unscrupulous media people. Anyway,
but I'd rather not harass them.
I know. Well,
believe me, we don't want to ask the person.
Well, I'm not, and I'm not meaning you. I'm just saying that there have been abuses with the media as well.